Inizio solo con un piccolo inizio in italiano, dopo tutto sarà fatto in inglese, anche perché se devo stare dentro i tempi faccio un po' fatica a parlare come voi in italiano, non ho la fluidità. Okay, before I start, okay, my name is Beth Lawson. Beth is the last 4 letters of my name. I have a very important name, which is a name that the Queen has. I don't feel as important or regal as the Queen, so I prefer to go by Beth. Okay, so before I start, I have a quiz for you. First of all, I'd like to see if there are any English teachers present in this room. If there are, can you raise your hand? Okay, no English teachers. Are there any teachers in this room? Can I see your hands go up? Okay, we've got some teachers. And also, how many of you are familiar with Trinity College London? Is anybody familiar with it? Only one hand, 2 hands? Okay. So before I start, I would like to first talk about what Trinity is, And from this left side of the screen, you can see that Trinity covers, it's an exam board, which covers many different areas. Our history is in music exams. They started in 1877. And then we added speech and elocution in 1918, and English language exams were started in 1930s. What does English have to do with music? Okay, we feel that English is performance, and in order to be able to show what you can do with the language, that is why Trinity went into also offering the English language exams. And the title is Teaching Training, okay, Innovative Approaches in Teacher Training and Continuous Professional Development, or CPD. And we're going to talk about our experiences with teacher training online. Did anybody follow my colleague last year? Was anybody present when Manuela Calzini presented? Okay. Basically, I'm going to give in the second part. Okay, first we're going to look at why teacher training is so important. Then we're going to look at the how, and in this bit I will give you a bit of background. If you read the acts from last year, you will see what our initial project is, but I'll give you a little bit of base there. And then we're going to look at what we offer. Okay. So what is the 21st century learning context? And we've seen this across the board. If you've attended other sessions, you will have heard, okay, a lot of these things will repeat. Our students today are facing unpredictable economies. There's a lot of job competition. We're living in an information-rich era. Fish and McLeod, for example, had a quote, and one of the speakers at the MOOC conference yesterday quoted this, and it says that we're teaching today's students for jobs that haven't been invented yet, okay, using technologies that haven't been invented, and also for projects that they probably don't even know what is going to be there. So as teachers, we need to be able to address these. Now, teaching students in the 21st century, we need to move from, and this is another situation that we're hearing repeated in all of these sessions, we need to move from the teacher being the dispensers of the knowledge to transformative practitioners, okay? And this requires an effort on the teacher's part to move in that direction. Now, a lot of these we've heard repeated throughout the different sessions that we've had here. And if there's any CLIL teachers present, okay, you've got the Teach Interdisciplinary. You're now seeing a lot of teachers teaching in languages, English, Spanish, French, okay? And this is part of the curriculum. They're teaching math, they're teaching science, and they're using the language. The English teachers are probably left a little bit out of this equation somewhat in the preparation because they haven't been included in a lot of the activities that were created for the CLIL teachers. So a lot of the teachers, we deal with teachers from the preschool up to the high school a lot, and they know some of these concepts, but they need to develop them more, okay? And even if you start to introduce some of these concepts and you are using the 21st century teaching methods, your classroom may be changing. I don't know how many classrooms are actually in this format in the public school system. I still see a lot of them in rows. But in order to get our students working in groups and pair work, the setup of the classroom needs to be a bit different. And even if you are starting to apply some of the paradigms, the new paradigms that you have, your curriculum is including these. And I'm going to include me because I am a teacher. We will only be a 21st century teacher if how we teach changes as well. This might require us to step outside of the box and start unlearning things, okay? By unlearning, I mean we have the way that we were taught embedded in our brain, okay? We have the way that we've been teaching, if we've been teaching for a while, embedded in our brain. And it's not so easy to change and to adapt to the new situations. And it requires quite a bit of support. Okay, and this brings us to the second part of the talk, the how. What kind of support has Trinity offered? Wednesday, I think it was, Richard, when he was giving the plenary, had a slide up there that says, take risks, tell stories. I'm going to tell the second part of the story, okay? Manuela initially gave it, but as you know, any good storyteller doesn't leave you hanging and throw you in the deep end. They give you a bit of background. So just briefly, a bit of background of what our project was in the case study that we talked about last year. We started in 2009 with our online program. Basically, what we were seeking to do was to create a community of teachers. And because Italy is so spread out, and we were only offering seminars in some of the major cities, a lot of teachers weren't able to make it, or the teachers that were present expressed an interest in continuing the dialogue after our seminars. We set up our online program. At that time, there were 490 teachers interested and enrolled on our online course, which at the time, if you remember, back in 2009, digital skills among teachers, especially the teachers that were a bit older, was lacking, as were the DHL lines. We didn't have broadband. As far as the pedagogy, we chose Moodle as our platform because it is designed by teachers for teachers. And we chose Gilly Salmon's 5-stage model because at that time, in particular, teachers needed more support as they were engaging in this online activity. We've seen a bit of a change recently. Teachers have been engaging on Moodle, they have been engaging on online courses, so this is changing somewhat, but our model still remains rooted in Gilly Salmon's 5-stage framework. In addition, okay, we kept in mind Pelz principles of effective online pedagogy. Let students, that should probably read participants because teachers are the students in this case in our online environment, do most of the work. So when we're designing our courses, we try to get students, the teachers, to engage more between themselves, okay? Interactivity is at the heart and soul of asynchronous learning, so we had to choose the tools that would get them to communicate with each other and strive for presence. There is research that says that when you have these 3 presences, there is more deeper learning in the situation. This is based on the Community of Inquirer model. So this is our homepage, okay, and you're welcome to browse around. There's not a lot of areas that are open to the public, but there are some if you'd like to take a look at the address that's at the top. And where we left off in our story with Manuela last year, at the beginning of 2016, we started offering webinars. This gave the personal touch type approach. We tried getting teachers to come on Skype during the online courses, and that didn't really, there were some that were reluctant to even download Skype. So having the webinar, this was a safe area. The webinar system that we're using is Big Blue Button, which is embedded in our Moodle platform. And with the introduction of webinars at the beginning of the year, we had an increase of 410% of enrollments on our online platform. The journeys, those are exam specific, and that was to offer support to teachers that are preparing their students for exams. And we added, this was what Manuela presented last year, we started with our first teacher development course, and we'll look at that in a minute. In addition, we also brought a gamification aspect to it. We found that teachers were having difficulties completing the activities. Note that all of our online support is for free, okay? So teachers sometimes go on there and they come on and then they say, I don't have time, it's a bad time of year, and don't complete the activities. Even though they had some kind of certificate. Unfortunately, the certificates weren't being recognized by the ministry, so a lot of teachers, if they're going to invest in something, may not do this unless their head teacher, their headmaster accepts some kind of format that says that you've done a course. So we added the badges, and that gave them the added motivation to continue. So they saw, when they finished a module, they got their badge, and then they would continue. And we had an increase of 20 to 35% completion rate with the badges last year. This is just a screenshot of the modules that we offered. As you can see, our 30-hour course, we had an orientation module. This is where they start to bind. Okay, many of these teachers don't know each other. They're meeting themselves for the first time online. So they introduce themselves, they get to know each other. And in each module, we had a live class, which was on our webinar platform. Module 1 and Module 3, Teaching Integrated Skills, we divided that from speaking and listening, reading and writing, and then we also went into the assessment strategies. As you know, the 21st century assessment, to assess transparently, we need to include students in the equation, giving them the intended learning outcomes that they need to achieve. So this was getting them to become familiarized with it, many of which had some vague ideas but needed more. At the end, we have a classroom research project, and everybody needed to complete their ideas, even if they didn't complete the research for the presentation, because we had a symposium where several teachers offered to deliver it. Some only came up with their ideas to take forward in the future. And I don't know how much time I have, so you can go online and find those were some comments that participants left. So where are we now? From 490, we're now at 7,600 in our community. Last year we had 47 webinars, 17 of which were online classes. Now, the online classes are in the same platform as the webinars, but the online classes are reduced in numbers, and it's where the teachers were also invited to turn on their webcams. They could turn on their audio. There were some glitches in Big Blue Button. It wasn't always cooperating with us, but they found that this was an extra way to enjoy the experience. We had 316 teachers enrolled. We had 3 journeys, which were the exam-specific courses, and the one course, and total 316 teachers, with a total of 257 badges that were issued in these courses throughout. So where are we going? Well, we've got our teacher training courses, which now are going from 1 to 4. We have our bite-sized courses, which will now be specific. If you're familiar with Trinity exams, you know that there are different tasks that students need to accomplish. So here you're giving them specific tasks rather than a whole course. So we're hoping that maybe giving them these bite-sized options, they will be able to partake more. We'll continue with our online classes within the journeys and the teacher training courses, and we will continue also to offer our webinars. We already have a list up online if you're interested. In addition, if you're familiar with Sophia, this is the catalog that the ministry is now opening to teachers. If they want to come in, they can come in and register for one of our face-to-face events. I believe this is from 4 to 6 hours. This I'm not 100% sure of, but the full editions will be more than the half editions. So we've got workshops that are throughout Italy that they can choose from, and we have our 100% online courses. Our very young learners and young learners will be 25 hours. Teaching speaking will be 30-hour course, and we've decided that the 4-skill course needed a few more hours, so that will be 35 hours. And I finished. If anybody would like to contact us, you're welcome to write to the academic team, and we'd be happy to answer any of your questions. Thank you.
Grazie, sono tutti interventi molto interessanti. Proseguiamo. Le tecnologie